If the Liberals are elected to be the next government, that they would do a better, I'll use that word, better job.
Can I take that? So yes, I absolutely do. And I want to start actually where Borys started. Something that is very important for me and Borys, and I know Yvan as well, is we take very great care not to frame the Ukrainian issue today as a partisan issue. And we work across parties, and I think it's very important for our community to do the same thing. And as Yvan said something very wise in thanking Arif for organizing this event, supporting Ukraine today cannot be a partisan issue, and it can't be a solely narrow Ukrainian community issue. We have to frame this as an issue which is in Canada's national interests. And all of us, you know, our community has a special reason to be supportive, but when we go outside the community, we have to make the case that way. It can't be about delivering particular goodies to the Ukrainian Canadian community by one party. So I believe that very strongly. I am 100% confident that a Liberal government would be a better supporter of Ukraine than any other government. 5 reasons. 1, you see here we have some very strong, extremely well-informed voices for Ukraine inside the Liberal caucus. And I would also commend Ralph Goodale, Kevin Lamoureux, Marc Garneau. Very well-informed, very supportive of Ukraine. And we are powerful voices inside the Liberal caucus. Borys spent a lot of time in Ottawa during this crisis, coming in, briefing the caucus. I am a strong voice in the caucus on Ukraine, and I don't freelance. What I say about Ukraine, I say with the full support and backing of the party behind me. So you have us there, and I hope our Hamada knows that Borys and I wouldn't stand for anything other than full support of Ukraine. You have our actions to go by. It was the Liberal Party that was the first party ahead of the government calling for sanctions against the people closest to Putin. And just by the way, when it comes to, you know, rhetoric versus action, the sanctions are a great example of that. And even in the most recent debate, we saw the Prime Minister being questioned. Why are Sechin and Yakunin not sanctioned? That to me is really inexcusable. There's all this showboating about, tell Putin to get out of Ukraine. Well, why not tell his good buddies that they can't come to Canada? So that is really inexcusable, and that lowers our standing and gives us less influence with our allies. And that is my final point. You know, Borys, I thought, very eloquently talked about the ways in which Canada can be an effective international player in support of Ukraine. Well, look, one thing we know about this current government, it's very bad at forming relationships. It's terrible at forming relationships inside this country. Yvan's leader, Kathleen Wynn, and the Prime Minister are publicly at war. That's terrible. Like the Premier of Ontario and the Prime Minister, you shouldn't have that. And he's also fighting with the Premier of Alberta. And he is no better at forming relationships internationally. The way that Canada can really support Ukraine is being an effective multilateral player. And right now, we do not have a seat at the table anywhere. I would say that Carl Bildt, when he was the Foreign Minister of Sweden, small country, not in the G7, had a much stronger role in supporting Ukraine and was much more effective than Canada was. That, to me, says we're failing at diplomacy. And a Liberal government would be good at diplomacy, and we would be much more effective. So that's why I think Ukrainians should feel very good about supporting the Liberals. And I do want to say one other thing, because we're here supporting Arif. I'm here supporting Arif. Look, there are, in Arif's writing, this is a Liberal NDP fight. And people, Ukrainian Canadians need to appreciate that there's a very good chance that the Conservatives do not form the next government, and the choice is between the Liberals and the NDP. There are many individual NDP MPs who are great people and personally supportive of Ukraine and ask me how to pronounce Ukrainian words. But when it comes to the leadership of their party, it is weak on Ukraine. When the decision was taken to provide combat training to Ukrainian troops, Justin Trudeau walked out immediately into a scrum and said unambiguously he supported that. Tom Mulcair came out. Tom Mulcair is opposed to that. I have the quote here in front of me. We're all very worried about the security of our troops, and especially because this is not a mission that is carried out with our NATO allies. That is why we should not put the lives of our brave soldiers in uniform in danger. That is the leader of the NDP talking about what is happening right now, combat training by Canadians of Ukrainians. That to me is an absolutely wrong position on Ukraine, and the, not just Ukrainians, but everyone who cares about, as Borys put it, these existential issues who are at stake. We have to challenge the NDP on that.
Could I add something to